And just like that, we're back with another week of Karma's a Mitch. Thank you so much for tuning in to episode kind of 1. Last week was just kind of getting into it, figuring things out. This week, hopefully getting everything up before like 5 or 6 o'clock tonight. Hopefully I hoped to record this earlier today, but the career coaching in Dundas today got moved up to the afternoon, so now it's like just after 3 o'clock. Hopefully I can get everything up and actually live before about 6 o'clock today. That's my plan, that's my hopes and dreams. We'll see how that goes, of course, but that's the plan for today, is to get everything up and to get everything out. It always kind of told me when I was looking into it last week that it takes maybe a couple days to put out the first one, but after that it should be okay. So who knows, maybe it's gonna go well, maybe it's not. We're gonna figure it out. That's what this is for. Next week, hopefully either getting up video, hopefully getting up like a proper actual cover photo as well. I have a really good idea in my opinion for that. No spoilers, however, or getting up an intro, like an actual intro kind of segment or song or something like that. We're doing a little bit more editing than what I'm doing right now is basically just going at it and just posting it. So maybe doing just a little bit more editing, just a little bit more to kind of like pull you in. But we're gonna have to see. It depends on what I kind of want to spend my money on, or what I want to spend my time doing. And ideas and that sort of stuff that comes across. So we'll just have to see. I don't know. Like I said, today we're going to be talking about the career coaching. I've been a career coach with not only the Industry Education Council of Hamilton, but also the Industry Education Council of Grand Erie as well, ever since it started. So career coaching is an initiative put forward by the government to try and expose more kids to more careers and career paths and understand what kind of jobs are like. Because a lot of the time you kind of think of when you were back in high school, you didn't know what all the jobs you wanted to do kind of were like, or what happened, or how people got into them. You just kind of figured, oh, well, I guess I'll just go to school for something, or I guess I'll just go and work in a factory, I guess, because I couldn't get into school. So this is one of those initiatives that kind of helps out. Hayek, or the Halton Industry Education Council, got the actual government grant, and then they reached out to all of the other industry education councils across Ontario to help out. So not only are they doing all this in school stuff like I've been doing, but they also did one big massive conference in Mississauga as well a couple weeks ago. I had the opportunity to go out to that. I didn't take it because it's in Mississauga, and I try not to go out there as much as possible. But I do know someone who did go out. Not a big fan of them. They were very, very braggy about doing it. And I talked not only to more students than they would have at this massive conference, but I talked one-on-one with them. A lot of the time I got less than 10 students to sit down right in front of me, and I was able to communicate with them. They were able to ask questions. They were able to steer the conversation in a way that they wanted to take it. I should talk more about what the career coaching actually is. So they have a whole bunch of volunteers, me included, to go out to all these schools and talk to grade 9s and 10s about their careers and their career journeys. I got in through KX. They reached out to the events email, which is the email inbox that I overlooked. So I sent it over to my boss, and he sent it right back to me and was like, you can go do that. So I was like, all right, I guess I'll go do that. So I did all of the forms and stuff. I handed it out to a handful of other people as well, because everyone just does a different job in a radio station, and I've done a lot of them, and I've been very connected with every single job, no matter what it is, from engineering to sales, creative, production, on air. Did I say engineering? Engineering is another big one. Even like HR, that sort of stuff. Like, I've done everything, and I was always there, so I know, and I had enough experience to talk about broadcasting, and I just did school for it, even though they're shutting down all the programs. But I wasn't unqualified to talk about it, but I was also like, I'm 20, I'm only 2 years kind of out of high school, 3 years graduated. So I don't know how well they want me, or like if they think I can do well with this. I think I can, because I love leadership. I was on the link crew back in high school, which is kind of like being a mentor for grade 9s, and that was when I was in grade 11 and 12, that sort of stuff. I did that. So I have a lot of experience doing it. I have a lot of experience in radio. So I was able to talk about it, and they were really happy to have me as well. So my first one was out in Assumption College. I went to the second day of Assumption because the first day was my sales final. I don't want to talk about that one. I had my sales final that day, so I wasn't able to actually go out to it, but I went to the second day, and that was like classroom based. So they took me, a female welder from Tiger Cat Industries who made like forestry equipment, and a like social worker that worked with the IEC of Grand Erie. So we went out and we went to a classroom, and the social worker asked us questions, like tell us a bit about your work and your day-to-day work job and what you do, the funnest part about your job. Tell me a bit about you in high school, like what were you like in high school? And I got a couple good laughs when I said I was weird. Like I was a weird kid. Like I was very independent with my personality. I didn't try and fit into something. I didn't try and be someone I wasn't. And I got not bullied. I think bullied means like you actually had it like affect you. But I got teased for it because I was in drama and I was kind of a suck up and I was good at school in general. But the thing about the classrooms was that you had to really break them out of the learning kind of trance they're kind of put in when you sit down in a classroom. So what I did was I kind of walked in, and the first classroom was a supply teacher, so he didn't care what I did. They weren't doing much in the first place. So I took out my a whiteboard marker, not my whiteboard marker. I picked one up, and I wrote a couple questions up on the whiteboard. I'm like, hey, okay. I'm like, okay, take out your phones, because I spent most of my time in college on my phone or on my laptop doing other work. Like, I wasn't fully paying attention. Like, I wasn't visually and audibly paying attention. I was visually doing something else, and I was also listening and picking up whatever I didn't know. So I'm sure you can. If you're not going to listen, you're not going to listen anyways, and you're going to try and be on your phone. So here's a way that, here's an out. So I wrote up a couple questions, find my social media handle, find a picture of me without my sunglasses on, find the Mohawk radio station socials, tell me a song that plays on the station, like that sort of stuff. Maybe a couple questions about KX as well. But that was really successful because it got people to raise their hands and go, hey, I found this, and I had keychains to give away or stickers or like that sort of stuff. So I got really great feedback from that. I only saw the second group's surveys that came back, and I got, Mitch was a goat. Mitch was great. Like, I got really great feedback from that, and that really made me feel great, because I wasn't 100% sure about how this would go. Because also at Assumption, I got yelled at by a teacher because I was wearing a hat in the hallway. And again, I'm young. I look like a student. So I'm sat there and I'm going like, I don't go here. I graduated college. Like I don't go here. So it was definitely an experience. Met a lot of great people. That was my first experience with it, and I continued to do that. I think there was a handful of, I had Hagersville and Caledonia after that one, and then those ones were different. So those ones weren't in the classroom. Those ones were in the gym or the cafeteria, and instead of like going space by space, or like switching it up at some point and like having everyone sit down. It was more like career fair style. So I would have to radically shorten my spiel, because before it was between 3 people and I had a whole class period, so like a little bit over an hour, and I talked about like no's the most common word you're going to hear, and it's the easiest word to say. Like, you need to be able to take a no and either ignore it or turn it into a yes, or really push past it. Like, because I basically got a no when I started with KX. Like, it was very difficult to try and get in and try to actually be a co-op student there, because they didn't really know how to do it, and they've only had one before, and it was a little bit difficult until I actually just showed up there and was like, you're giving me I'm co-oping here, and there's nothing you can say about it. I don't care if you give me anything, but I'm going to be here and learn and do something. And I got no a lot when I was there. I tried to, hey, how about we try this? How about we try that? And I got no. And to turn that into, because right before I left, I started to record on my own hardware, use my own software to edit, like all that sort of stuff, and it looked great. And then they had to go back to the way it was, and it just wasn't as good. So to take that no and try your best to turn it into a yes, and to try and spin it into, okay, well, sure. One thing I've heard commonly in sales is that, like, again, when you're doing sales, people don't want to give you money. Like, they worked hard for it. They don't think marketing is really going to work. So they're going to get no. But you got to keep asking. You got to keep pushing until that no turns into a, hey, don't talk to me ever again. Hey, do not call me. And that's when you kind of, like, have to cut your losses. So to try and teach them that, and then to move into, hey, like, not everything's going to work out especially awesome. You're going to have troubles, you're going to have trials, but you need to be able to push through that and really turn it into something that's great. And to really go through just my time navigating the workplace, because I never really worked in an office before, and I never really understood how to send like a real email, or like kind of exist in an office space. Like, I was always working outside or in a place where it was much more, I don't know about private, but much less corporate. Like, I was working out in a field some points. I was out doing concrete on the lakes, milking cows or milking goats. Like, all these areas are not really public. You don't have a public perception. You can swear. You can have music on. You can kind of just be not antisocial, but like to talk them through that, and to go like, here's a whole bunch of the stuff you're going to see. Communication sucks everywheres. You want to be the change you want to see, and fight for yourself, fight for the things you want to do, because a lot of the time, if you have a passion for it, you are going to do it much better than someone who is more experienced but doesn't care. And that's what I've always seen. Like, I've always cared about what I did, regardless of whether or not like I liked doing it. Like, did I like doing concrete? No. Like, who would? I mean, there's probably a handful of people who would, but it was, at the end of the day, I would be able to step back and go, I made this. I actually have a physical grasp of what I've been doing. And it made me feel awesome about it. So that sort of stuff, instead of like, oh, I just kind of filled out paperwork for 8 hours and I don't really feel anything. So being able to say, like, you want to do this, you want to do that, try it out as well. Take a co-op. That's how I got in. That's how I started doing this stuff. And I think Assumption was so much better for that. Oh, I was talking about the difference between Hagersville Caledonia and Assumption. So it was more job fair style, so I didn't have as much time to kind of really talk about all the stuff I did in Assumption, but the students would rotate around whenever they really felt like it, or whenever like they didn't have any questions or they wanted to move on. So I would have to really speedily, I did this, and you can do this in broadcasting. There's a whole bunch of this sort of stuff too. If you like sports, you can go to sports broadcasting, and you can do all the camera, you can do the play-by-play announcing, all that sort of stuff. There's so many jobs. And then I have to do it all again. And then I have to go through my career path and, take co-op, do this, do that. I remember at Caledonia, most of the 75% of the students would just stand in the middle of the room and they wouldn't go talk to anyone. And the teachers wouldn't even try and break it up. They just didn't care. Like, it was shocking to see. Hagersville was a lot better, much smaller school. So there was only one, maybe two classes of each grade. So they were able to kind of break them up and go, if you like the artsy kind of stuff, go talk to the guy running the camera, or go talk to Mitch. I showed up at Hagersville, and my old science teacher and guidance counselor, I was the first one there. So they were like, hey, the people for career coaching is here. So she comes out and she sees me and she goes, are you a career coach? I go, yes, ma'am. She goes, that's scary. And I go, yep, but they wanted me, so I'm here. I ended up talking to just one kid about milking cows. Like, one kid sat down with me, and I gave him kind of a bit of a spiel, and then I talked a little bit about milking cows, because I think he either had a hat on or a shirt on, or I just mentioned it offhand, and he goes, oh, where did you milk? And I'm like, oh, just down the road. And he goes, oh, well, I milk on the next road up. And I go, oh, well, there you go. So then we talked about milking cows for like 15 minutes because no one else wanted to rotate around to me. And that's just what happens. Like, I would get really popular groups and I would get one person. Like, it really depended on the school. It depended on the group of people who paid attention and who didn't. And like, it wasn't enough to go, oh, well, a majority of the students didn't care. Well, that's just what happens anyways. You go into any classroom and there's a whole bunch of students that don't care about the lesson that's going on. That's not what it is. I looked at a lot of the feedback on the back of the surveys because in the Hamilton ones, they would have them fill them out right basically in front of me and then leave them with me, and then they would come around and collect them from me. But I would always turn them over and I always read what was on the back, because there was a handful of good ones. There was a lot of people talking about, talk more about your school, talk more about more experiences that you had, and talk more about other fun activities that you did. And then there was a couple weird ones. A lot of people drawing at a lot of the more artsy schools. I can never remember the names of the schools. I got a couple, Mitch was hot, and I go, okay, that's not appropriate, but all right. So the first time that happened was at McNabb, and I remember that one. I think the other two were at the same school, and that was when I got like a bleacher full of students, and that was shocking to me. And they tried to come over and spread them out, and I was like, hold on, they chose me. I want to see what happens next. I want to see if they actually pay attention, or if they just saw my pins or saw I was young and were like, he's chill, he'll just let me go on my phone. That's when I got to Mitch was hot. Oh, well, Mitch was a baddie, and then underneath it was like the radio guy. The radio guy was hot, and I was like, all right. I mean, thank you, but you're 14, so please do not hit me up on socials. That's really weird. I don't know why you thought you'd put that on a survey. Like, why would you put that on a survey? Like, do you have any more, like, suggestions or that sort of stuff for us for next time? And they're like, bring Mitch back. He was fun to look at. I don't know what he said. I was on my phone the entire time. But he was fun to look at. Like, geez. I did like 15 of them. And every single time was different. Every single time there was different questions and different students and different levels of attentiveness, and that's just what happens. Like, you're never gonna get the same group twice. You're never gonna get the same set of students. Like, I couldn't talk to everyone. I'm sure if I did, that I would kind of awaken someone in them, like something in them of like, oh, like, I do really like music, and I do really love, talking to people. So maybe I do want to go into radio. Like, there's so much opportunity in broadcasting, and it's not just, I'm going into radio. No, there's, TV, like, sports broadcasting is getting massive, with all the betting scenes and stuff. Women's sports is taking off. The PWHL, the women's NBA, like this, even esports. That's not a women's sport, but like esports broadcasting, like this is all growing massive, and they all need people to run the cameras. They need people to do maybe play-by-play announcing, like calling shots, directing the show. Like, there's so much opportunity if you love sports, if you're, a woman in sports, if you love video games, and if you love playing games competitively. Like, you don't need to do it professionally. You don't need to play sports professionally. You don't need to play video games professionally. All you have to do is be around the scene that you like, and then you are going to be able to enjoy that as a job. Like, I love music. I can't play music. I'm quite bad at it. I can't write, especially. I'm awful at writing. Like, I don't think I'd be able to do creative, but I can do production really well, and I can do the on-air stuff, and I can talk forever about all this sort of stuff. So I can share that, and I can share other connected things, and that's what I like to do the most, especially with the career coaching. It's also kind of helped me out a lot, because I don't know what I want to do. I'm the unemployed career coach. I don't actually have a job. I got my 2 weeks notice when I went back to the office after Assumption, which was, again, the first one I ever did, and I've done like 15 of them now. And I love doing it, and every now and again I wouldn't ever say I'm with KX still. I would always say, I was, and then they'd, are you on the radio? And I'm like, I was. So if you probably know my voice, you probably know me, but that's just not me anymore. I'm looking for something else. And then they would kind of look weird about it, and I'd try to explain to them, like, it's not going to stay around. You're not going to get into something, and you're not going to stay in it. I wasn't expecting to. I just kind of wanted to ride it as long as I could. I rode it through much longer than I expected. Again, I started out as a high school co-op. It was supposed to be 4 months, unpaid. I wasn't going to get any money for it, and I was going to be able to maybe even go to college and say, I have these connections. I can go talk to them if I really need something. And then it turned into, I'm actually working with them right now, and I'm going to be going on for like 8 months while someone's out on maternity leave. And then it turned into, I'm still doing it, and I don't really know when it's going to stop, because everyone loves me, and I've made a great name for myself, and that's really what you want to do with it. And again, pushing co-op no matter what. Pushing a 5th year, because I was supposed to get out of high school at 17. I wasn't even going to be 18. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I took that final year. I got my physics, and I did some other fun stuff with other teachers I liked. I did more drama stuff. I got a certificate from our seers for my performance, and I just had fun with it, and I kind of discovered it, and I discovered radio, and kind of discovered myself, and took a couple classes that I needed, that just in case I wanted to go to vet school, I could have, and I can technically still go. My favorite story to kind of push co-op for the students is really the reason I'm not a vet student. So I was dead set on being it when I got into grade 9. I picked all my classes, and I picked the whole 5 years because I'd always heard that they like, especially in Hagersville and especially the smaller schools that aren't like packed and don't have portables and really need students, they love it when you sign up for a 5th year, because it adds another student and it looks great for them. So I was like, hey, I can shorten up my... I can lighten up my course load, and I can graduate at like a normal time when I'm 18 going on 19, and then go to university. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, it's just another year. I can have some fun with it. So that's what I signed up for, and I put my physics in there. I think I put my calculus and vectors in there, I think. But it wasn't until like grade, I think 11 or 12, when I was talking with our large animal vet here. And I think she told me, at least this is what I remember. I don't completely recall. This could be some complete fabrication I've made up. But this is what I've been saying. I remember her telling us about a 3rd-year vet student that worked with her. And now, if you don't know anything about vet school, you need to actually have a 2-year Bachelor of Science or something similar to get in. So 5 years total, since she's the 3rd-year vet student. 5 years, hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, has to be. And she's working with our vet, and she can't give a cow a needle without bursting into tears. And that kind of shocked me, because, one, how do you get to 3rd-year vet school and not know that you can't give a needle? But you also have to needle hundreds of heads of cattle if you're doing stuff like vaccinations. And I have no problem giving a cow a needle. That's not why I kind of stepped back from the veterinary scene. Even though I was in grade 11, it kind of felt like she was taking my spot, because I knew it was really hard to get into vet school. People spend years just trying to get in. So that takes that 2-year Bachelor of Science. You have to have gap years where you can't get in, and it's really difficult to do. Because a lot of people just get in thinking that, since I have the great grades and I want to make a whole bunch of money, I can just go be a vet. But being a vet is so much more difficult than being a doctor. A person can tell you where they hurt, when they hurt, what they're doing. Like, you can't get that from a horse. A horse isn't going to go, hey, my right knee hurts. I don't know why. Maybe it's when I stepped in a hole and no one was around to see it and I twisted it. You have to figure that out on your own. 90% of your job is going to be giving something a painkiller and seeing if they get better, because then it's probably something to do with pain. Like, I have no problem giving anything a needle. I do it a lot. I needle like most of the stuff we have here. But it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way, because if someone like that is taking a spot now, taking a valuable spot now, how many people are going to be taking my spot when I try to get in that have better grades than me, but don't have the passion and don't really care and don't understand what being a vet is all about? And that's when I kind of went, okay, I'm going to try something different. I'd been doing announcements for forever, and all the secretaries always told me, oh, you got the voice for radio. You should go into radio. So I said, all right, fine. I'll try radio. And that's when I took my co-op, and that's how I started in KX. And that's what I did. And that's what I'm doing. And, maybe we're going to see. And maybe we're going to see. Maybe I'm going to stick with it. Maybe I'm going to try something else. Because it's opened my eyes to go, I don't have to just stick with something. The amount of people I talked with, the amount of people that have told me about their whole career path, and it got to the point sometimes where some people have kind of went, oh, now it feels like I'm career coaching you. And I'm like, that's what I want. I want to know what it's like, and I want to know what I might be able to look forward to, or what might happen, because I don't know, because no one did this for me. I talked to one guy, and I told him about, I'm not working with the station anymore, and he goes, well, why don't you just start something yourself? And I went, well, I've been thinking about it, but I don't really know. I don't know what I do. And he goes, well, just do something. And that was the week before I started this. And his name was Andrew. I don't know what his last name is, but he told me, he goes, sometimes, life is like a journey, and you're taking a road trip, and you stop in at a gas station. Like the journey isn't to the gas station, but you're just getting gas from the gas station, and then you're continuing on your journey. So maybe this position you had wasn't the whole journey, but just to give you something that you can take and make your own. And that really stuck with me. And maybe he's right, maybe he's wrong, but I'm taking that shot right now because what else do I have? What do I have to lose? I don't have anything to lose right now. That was another big one I talked about how young people don't have near as much risk to try something out as older people do. And what I really mean is that, especially in a high school co-op, it's a zero risk environment. If you don't like it, if you don't do well, you're not giving up anything, because all you have to do is do your co-op stuff and you still get the credits. You don't have to perform well, you don't have to like it, and you can just get the bare minimum hours, and then you know you don't like it anymore. And that's probably more valuable than liking something, because then you're not getting into it. I talked with a nursing teacher, and she said the amount of people that got into nursing school because, they just thought it was the job for them because, they get good grades, they can go into healthcare, and they do really well on their written exams, but they do awful on the practical and on the bedside stuff. It's because they don't really care, and they don't have any passion for it. And that's what I kind of teach, is that if you take the risk now in a co-op, you're not going to spend all the time to get into school, and you're not going to spend all the money to be in school, and you're not going to spend all that, all the resources for someone else who wants to be there, for you to give up and not like it and be stuck somewhere where you don't want to be. Co-op is invaluable like that. And it goes the other way as well. Like, we don't have a family to support right now. We're young. We don't have like a mortgage. We don't have car payments, that sort of stuff. Like, we have the ability, like we're starting out in a low end of our job. Like, we're not giving up a career to drop something and try something else out that you never would have known that you liked, or that you ever thought you would do. Like, the radio stuff was basically on a whim, was looking up, okay, well, who could I go work with to see if this radio stuff is really going to pan out, because I like music. I guess I can talk to people. I did drama for forever. It's not that hard, right? And it's a wide variety of people that got into it. There was a lot of people who did just think it's the stuff behind the microphone, and there was a lot of people who just said, oh, I like music. I guess radio. I don't know. Maybe it's gonna help me make music. I don't know. A lot of people didn't know what they were getting into when they started at Mohawk, and sure, great, but like you need to actually understand before you get into something, before you spend money, and before you actually get into it. Someone before had gone into insurance, and then she went into radio, and I worked with her on a handful of shows, and she said, you know what, I just didn't like it. I didn't like it like I thought I would, so I just tried something else. And that's what you want to do, but you want to understand what the whole job entails as well before, because there was a whole bunch of people who couldn't talk on air. And the problem with my time at Mohawk was that they didn't grade us at all based on performance. And before you go, well, that's you're just supposed to do the work and you're supposed to hand it in. Like, why does your performance matter? You get a job and you keep a job based on performance. If I couldn't sit here and talk in a captivating manner for at least a minute, really at most a minute, then they're not going to put me on air, because people are just going to turn me off as soon as the music, like, no matter how good they love the music, as soon as I come on, they're going to turn the radio off. I know a lot of people who listen to specific channels because they can't take a jock on the other one. Like, it's a real thing that happens. So you do have to be good at this to get a job and to keep it, because they will just remove you if you're doing poorly. Like, there's no job security really in radio if you're on air. because if you're not doing well, then they're just going to pull you. What was I talking about? I was talking about risk. I think I talked about risk enough. I got that one from Lewis Spears. Great comedian. He has a podcast as well, Spearhead Sundays. Comes out on Sundays, whenever it does. Sometimes he misses, and then it's Spearhead Mondays. It overlaps a little bit, but he's in Australia. Super funny guy. Really hope he comes to North America to do a tour. Would really love to talk to him, or at least see him as well, just in person at some of his shows. The career coaching has been just a crazy experience. Like, I never would have thought I'd been doing it. A lot of people said, oh, maybe you should teach then, if you're really into it. And I think I could do a much better job than what I got. Most of my experience comes from other people, though. And it's not something that I've put into practice. It's just going, oh, well, someone I know does this, or someone I know did this. Try this instead because it works for this person, but maybe it won't work for you. And that's kind of what again, because my teaching is, here's what I do, here's what not to do. If you find something that works for yourself that's not what not to do, then go for it. It's all for you. It's not like, oh, well, we're going to work on this, and we're going to work on what you like to do and what you do and that sort of stuff. And all the colleges are shutting down the radio program as well, but and a lot of it's just experience, and that's the most important thing when it comes to like college teaching, that sort of stuff, is just, did you do it? Yeah. Did you also do it like 30 years ago? Well, you can talk about that. That was kind of our sales and entrepreneurship class. I'm not going to go too much into that, because then it'll get into defamatory statements. Oh, it's only slander if it's false, right? My goodness. I got threatened that we were going to get sued because someone put down that a specific teacher committed tax fraud on like an anonymous student survey. And he got really mad at that. I thought it was funny. I didn't do it. And to my knowledge, no, he did not commit tax fraud, but I'm also not the CRA. So I wouldn't know. And I also don't care. I just thought it was funny. But that's defamatory. Or is this slander, libel, and defamation? One of them's spoken, one of them's written, and one of them's different. I don't remember. They taught us this in our radio laws and ethics. No one seemed to have learned much from that. Great prof, though, with that one. So the career coaching was a crazy experience I never would have thought I would ever get into. Because, again, I just got it, and I was like, oh, well, that's for someone a little bit more experienced than me. Sent it off and got something... just an amazing opportunity back, especially just to talk with everyone that's involved with it, and just be involved and really just try and help the students. Because, again, I didn't have this. I would have loved to have this when I was in grade 9 and 10, because I wouldn't have been as scared as I was to get that 2 weeks notice. And I wouldn't have been so scared to try something new and to go into radio and try it. There is so much time. If I take a couple years to try something different, everyone has. Everyone's done something else. No one's gotten into something right away and just stuck with it. And that's probably the most important thing I took away from this, is that take that chance and go for it. I really appreciate the Hamilton IEC and Grand Erie IEC for having me out. It was so much fun. Have one more tomorrow. That's the last one in Hamilton at St. Mary's Catholic School. And then I'm probably going to put something out on my socials. So keep an eye on that, Mitch.fm. Going to have a whole bunch of the pictures that I attended and a handful of other things as well. So really glad to have gone out and done that. Really awesome experience. So maybe when it comes around next year, hopefully it does, because I really do think it made a difference. Hopefully they kind of round out the corners, I guess, because so every now and again it was just tough to do. And we were talking to like 500 kids in a gym, and you're trying to talk to 20 of them. And it's really difficult. It gets super loud, and if one group is too rowdy, then other people start talking, and then you just lose control, and it just kind of falls apart. I really did like the classroom approach, and I liked the questions they asked too. So hopefully they'll take that into consideration as well. I know a lot of the time they don't want people in classrooms, and then students are changing classrooms and that sort of stuff. But hopefully they can get enough mentors next time. So check them out. IEC of Hamilton or HIEC, HIEC as well, Halton Industry Education Council. Check them out. Really awesome stuff they're doing as well. So really fun to do. Thanks again to them. And let's get into... did I do music or sports last time? Let's do sports. So let's talk about the Haldimand Little League Soccer, U8 Soccer, my little brother's soccer team. We're going out in just about 2 hours now, so hopefully I'll get this up before then. Last week, they did better. They did better than their first game. Their first game was 8-2. Real big loss. They figured out how to score in the last 5 minutes, and this time, not bad. They tied 2-2. My brother went into net for the second half, and he was their best goalie so far. Didn't let anything in. They almost got the win. It was like buzzer beater, shot on net, just got bapped out, and that was brutal. But it's so much fun to watch because you never know what's gonna happen. Like they don't have any tactics. They're just going ham at the ball. they just swarm it like a swarm of angry bees, and there's like 6 kids at the ball, and there's like 10 on the field at a time, maybe 12 with the goalies, and there's like 6 of them all in one pile at the ball, and we're like, where's it gonna go? I can't even see it. So it's really fun to watch. What do we say? Someone's grandmother was there and was asking, like, why are you yelling at them? Like, they can't hear you. And I'm like, well, it's because you yell at the TV when you're cheering on for your sports teams. If they miss a goal or something, or if they're just kicking it around, like, it makes you feel better. And like, I can yell at kids and not feel bad about it. And then someone's mom goes, oh, I yell at my kids all the time and I don't feel bad about it. Go for it. What else did we say? There was a handful of things. Oh, this is the problem about doing it a week later. It's probably a good thing because there was some crazy stuff, but it's just really funny to watch the parents, because I don't really do much. Go kid, or that. I know a couple of their names. Oh, maybe they're not doing soccer today. Maybe it's too wet. It did rain today. I don't know. Maybe they'll tell me if they're leaving. But it was so much fun to just go out and watch all this stuff, because it gets me out. It gets me doing something more than I'd be doing here, right? So it's so much fun to go out and watch. And best of all, they're getting better, and that they can only go up. Like, they have a loss, they have a tie. Now all they need is a win. And the kids come over and they're like, what was the score? And everyone's like, oh, we didn't keep score. So it's one of those things. I said we should start a fantasy football league with them. Oh, best part. You know how like British and European people are like, it's called football. Why are you calling it soccer? That's not the real name. Football is actually the incorrect name for it. Soccer is the real name for soccer. They changed it because of like naming schemes and stuff. So how it kind of went is it started out as soccer at a school in England. I should have pulled this up before, but I didn't, because I'm a little slow. I didn't expect to talk about this, but now here I am. So they started a school in I think England, and then they went to another school which was something kind of like rugby. So then they started using their hands there, and that turned into the rugby rules. So that you had the soccer rules and the rugby rules. And then I think the University of Toronto is actually the first time where actual American football was played. So maybe American football is a Canadian invention as well. I need to look that one up as well. Maybe for next week, because I could do it now, but I'm too lazy, and I love spreading misinformation. So don't take any of this as truth. But they actually changed the name from soccer to football because of different rules and stuff going on. So the Europeans started calling it football, and the Americans who were playing soccer, and they also had their American football, just kept calling it soccer. So it's not that the Americans are calling it the wrong name, it's that the Europeans didn't like that the Americans were playing soccer, and they were playing it with slightly different rules, and then also turned it into American football, that they started calling it football. So that's kind of where soccer kind of comes from an idiot who doesn't fully know what he's talking about. Again, could be total misinformation. Who knows? I don't. I don't know what I'm talking about. I have heard this more than once. I've heard it more than once. I never bothered to pull up the Wikipedia page. Maybe I'll do that for next week if I'm completely wrong. Or, it's the internet. People love to correct people. Let's get into what I've been listening to. I kind of took a deep dive the other night and went back to my Midwest emo sort of stuff. Now, if you don't know what Midwest emo is, it's kind of like a combination of emo music, which is, like your MCR, that sort of stuff. I don't know too much emo. I think Green Day is kind of emo-y. That's, that sort of stuff. My Chemical Romance is like the big emo. And math rock, which takes a whole bunch of different time signatures and kind of combines them together, and you switch between time signatures, and you switch between like beats and that sort of stuff. And I really like it because it gives it a uncommon tune, because a lot of the time you hear things in 3/4, 4/4, but you get like crazy stuff like 7/16, which is, in my opinion, super cool. And then they switch it around and they change it and they add beats, and it's off like off tempo and that sort of stuff. So they change up the tempo. So I don't even know where I started listening, or where I discovered this, but it's called American Football. It's a band. They have a very small discography, but they are very, very popular in the Midwest emo sort of realm. It's kind of like your gateway into it. So I have their self-titled album, American Football, from '99. So it's not like something super new. It's from, don't say 30 years ago, almost 30 years ago. I can't tell the difference between a lot of the tracks. The whole album's only 41 minutes long, but that's kind of what I listen to when I'm kind of going to sleep, because it's very soft, and it's kind of like whiny, and it's kind of like, oh, my girlfriend left me, oh. But that's not why I listen to it. I listen to it because it's soft and it puts me to sleep, and I really like that. I can typically get through the whole album and then fall asleep. So typically I put it on twice and then I'm out. It doesn't matter because I listen to music all throughout the night as well. But that's what I've been kind of getting into. Their LP2 album is from 2016, so I'm pretty sure they just had this 17-year gap, and then they were just released another album. I don't know if it's the same people. I don't know anything about them. I don't know much about Midwest emo at all, but that's kind of what I clicked into because it came up in my long list of songs. Because I have a massive playlist I put on 1,500 items. Oh, exactly. Look at that. Because I just got some music. 4.2 days of playtime. 4.2 days. That's what, 48 plus hours? Oh, I'm completely wrong. I can't do math at all. Almost like 100 hours, I think, of of playtime, which is insane. What is it, 72, 24, 48. Don't make me do math. Oh, no, I don't want to start playback. I don't have SOCAN right now. That's another thing I'm looking into, is to actually look into getting a SOCAN license, but I don't know if I want to do it over... Ow. That one hurt. I don't know if I want to do it over a podcast, or if I want to do, like, YouTube and go through all of the, like, CanCon stuff, because that's what I love the most about the radio industry, is that a lot of people hate it. A lot of people hate how much CanCon is played, because it's legally required, right? We are legally required to play 35% Canadian content, and that means... I think I went over this last time. But it means that we have to play 35% of our music has to be at least 2 of 4 like criterion, which is the music written by a Canadian? Is the artist Canadian? Is it performed by a Canadian or produced by a Canadian? And is the lyrics written by a Canadian? 2 of those things. We call it MAPL, MAPL. Really cute, right? But 2 of those things need to be Canadian for it to be qualified as CanCon. So I know a lot of CanCon stuff. I'm a big hip fan. They write all their stuff. They write all their lyrics. They are Canadian. They a lot of the time produce their own stuff as well. And Gord Downie wrote all the lyrics. So that was, I mean, they all helped. But that's a great example of true CanCon, like 100% CanCon. And then you get something like... Our Lady Peace, their CanCon, Arkells, Bachman Turner Overdrive, Bare Naked Ladies, The Beaches, Big Wreck. Who else do I have in here that is Canadian? The Cars might be. I know Celine Dion is. But the thing about Celine Dion, so My Heart Will Go On, from Titanic, that was only performed by a Canadian. That was like the artist, Celine Dion, was only Canadian. So she doesn't qualify that song for CanCon because it was written by someone who wasn't Canadian, and it was, the music wasn't written by someone who's Canadian, it wasn't produced by a Canadian, so it didn't qualify for CanCon, but it was such a big song anyways that a lot of Canadian radio stations played it, but it didn't qualify to their CanCon requirements, so they couldn't add it as part of that 35%. So it happens a lot with people like Tate McRae now, that sort of stuff. Crash Test Dummies is another Canadian band that I have. We are only in C. I think Dallas Smith is he's country, but I think he's Canadian because he was, Default. He's the main guy from Default, who is also Canadian, and I also have. My buddy, his music, Ethan Hunt. Go give him a listen. Love him. I have Gord Downie's single stuff. The Guess Who is Canadian. They're great. I went and watched Bachman Turner Overdrive, and if you don't know, Randy Bachman was also in The Guess Who. And The Guess Who were the first band to ever get a #1 hit on the Billboard Top 100. First Canadian band to ever get a hit on the Billboard Top 100, which is the American Billboard charts, and it's the American basically singles list. So we have our own, which is for the Canadian radio and that sort of stuff, so we can tell what Canadian songs are highest and what we should put into our 35%, so we're not playing something that's garbage, but Canadian. But the Guess Who hit the top of the American charts with American Woman, and that was with Randy Bachman, who then went into Bachman Turner Overdrive with Randy Bachman and can't remember his name, but Turner, and I was able to go watch them. So they played a whole bunch of stuff from the Guess Who, a whole bunch of stuff from BTO, and his son as well played his song. What is his name? Tall Bachman. She's So High. That was his big hit. Listening to a whole bunch of the Killers as well. Now, the Killers aren't Canadian. I'm not trying to sell you. I'm going through my whole list of who's Canadian, but the Killers aren't Canadian, but they're most known for their Britpop, Mr. Brightside. Somebody told me, I should actually click into what they've done. Like their Hot Fuss album from 2004, from the year I was born. All these things that I've done, like that sort of stuff. It's Britpop, and they do it with a British accent and that sort of stuff that they do, but they're from LA. And they actually came over, so Bush came over in the 90s to do American grunge. And if you hear Gavin Rossdale from Bush talk, he is very British, super British accent, but you hear him sing, and it's an American accent because he's singing American grunge. And since the Killers are American, they actually sing with a kind of a British accent. Not a great one, but like kind of a British accent for the Britpop, because they went over and they played that sort of stuff, and that's when they made it big. And then Mr. Brightside spent like over 300 weeks on their top charts, like top 100, like consecutive 300 consecutive weeks on the top 100. Not super high, albeit, but they were still up there. And again, the song's from 2004. Going back to more like CanCon stuff that I have, Nickelback, of course. I think Odds are from BC. I know them from It Falls Apart is one of their big singles. Yes Means It's Hard to Say No is another good song as well. Check out their Bedbugs album for a lot more of that sort of stuff. Sum 41, they just went on their end tour, another Canadian band. Again, a lot of these people aren't as big in the States. A big reason for that is that a lot of the time Canadians will flood the border. That's what happened to a lot of hip concerts. And they're next on my CanCon list. I can go on forever about them. So I'm gonna start it now. A lot of these Canadian bands didn't make it super super big in the States because they weren't as good. But a lot of the time, the Canadians would flood their border, and they would go to all the shows, and then the Americans wouldn't know because they couldn't get tickets. They couldn't go see, and they weren't in the bars that they were playing and that sort of stuff when they were starting out. So then they got super big, and they went on these big tours. And then close to the border, everyone would flood down because they weren't playing enough Canadian shows. And, I mean, they couldn't have played enough Canadian shows ever. Most of these bands, like Avril Lavigne's another big one, but she went super super big. So like even a lot of Americans know her. The Weeknd's another like Canadian rapper. I don't have Drake, thank goodness. 5440 is another one. I went and saw their greatest hits kind of tour. So really awesome to go see them as well. Sorry, I got sidetracked again. But yeah, so just talking about CanCon and that sort of stuff. I don't know if I want to talk about like CanCon, like make a separate podcast for it, or start making like videos for it, because I watch another guy on YouTube. His name is Liam Donovan, and he does all that sort of stuff, but he's more into emo and punk and that sort of stuff. So I'm more into, rock and country, which is a bit of an opportunity there for his audience. And of course all the CanCon stuff, and try to focus on that and make more of a scene for Canadians to talk about their music and to talk about the people, because we are kind of Stockholmed into it. But I do really think that a lot of Canadian artists really deserve a lot more love on other stations, like across the borders and that sort of stuff. So I might look into that. I'd have to look into a SOCAN license. I've been looking into it. It all depends on how much I talk in them, how much they are. Because if I just get it for like 20%, like less than 20% of my programming is actual music, then it's only like $40 as long as I don't make any money, which I've already got that set. If it's a little bit more, like up to 80%, it shoots up to like $150 like a year. So it's not that bad for me to play whatever I want because I'm not making money, and that's just how that goes. If I make money, then a certain percentage, I'm pretty sure it's pretty low. It's probably less than 1.5% for my first $1 million every year. I think it might be different for videos, but just from my time in radio, it's a certain like subscription fee, and then you also have other stuff to go with it as well. So who knows what I'm going to do. Again, next week, probably going to have either an intro, a better cover picture, or maybe video as well. Depends on what I want to spend. Maybe we might have music too if I get a SoCan license. Depends on what I want to spend my money on. Don't have much of it right now. So thank you so much for listening. Of course, you can always find me over on my socials at mitch.fm on everything, or check out my website, mitch.fm.ca. Thank you so much for listening to Karma's a Mitch. I've been Mitch. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful week.